So this
one
time.
I walked out of my house before school and saw that everyone on the block needed shoveled out from the storm.
I picked up the shovel and I decided to shovel my walk and one of my neighbors.
I worked for hours to clean all of the snow from the sidewalks and cars.
Once the snow was clear, I admired the work and the good deed I'd done, and spread salt over the walks.
I noticed my neighbor needed some help with their sidewalk.
There was a lot of snow.
It was exhausting, but it felt good to help another person out.
When it was done, they thanked me for the help. Everyone was happy and thankful that my neighbor and I were able to get off the street.
It reminded me of a time that I helped out an older couple with Habitat for Humanity.
We went to Maryland to help rebuild and fix houses of families in need.
We showed up with Habitat for Humanity.
To build and repair a porch and ramp so the elderly residents could get into their house more easily.
We worked tirelessly for 5 days to complete our project.
After our incredible selfless effort, we left them satisfied and thankful.
Before I left for school, my friend called to tell me his car broke down. He was pissed.
So he called me up, and I offered to pick him up in my perfectly working vehicle.
We drove like this.
We got to class on time.
I took him to his car, which was fixed. He was like,
Thanks, bro.
and I was like,
No probs, cuz.
When I got to class, there was this lady who was having a hard time. I asked if she needed help.
she asked me if I could grab her books and help her to class.
So I held open the door to the building where her class was being held.
I walked her to the classroom and handed her books back to her.
The lady gave me a hug and thanked me for helping her out.
After class, I went to visit my grandparents for a little. It was dark in their living room.
My grandma said it was because the lights were broken, which sounded ridiculous.
So I helped her change the bulbs, and the lights suddenly worked.
Once we finally had light again, we all decided to play some 500 bid. It's usually a real quiet game, but my grandpa likes to yell a lot, so he got real rowdy.
I had to go to work afterwards, so I left, and Grandma waved goodbye as I rode away real slick-like.
On my way to work, there was some dude Tokyo drifting all over the road.
It eventually led to his demise.
I felt bad for him, but at the same time, he kind of deserved it.
I thought he might be dead. He wasn't, though. And I did notice that he looked like Bruce Blanche.
I saved this Bruce Blanche lookalike to live to see another day. Self-high five.
While I was at work, there was an old lady who was buying some soil for her garden.
The bag was quite heavy and she looked like she needed some help. So I went to ask if I could help her out with her bag, but I wasn't sure what to do.
I came up with the idea that I would separate the bag
Into 2 smaller, less heavy bags of dirt.
The smaller bags were much easier for her to carry, so she thanked me for the help.
After work, I decided I wanted some coffee. When I got to the cafe, a man was sitting alone, his blue hood pulled over his head, obscuring his face.
I felt drawn towards this man and wanted to share my company with him, so I bought him a coffee and joined him at his table.
We shared a prayer, asking God to give this man new direction, to close doors that would hinder him from becoming the man that he had the potential to be.
With a tear in his eye, he thanked me for sharing coffee with him, for sharing time with him, and for sharing my love with him.
Little does he know that sharing coffee with him and sharing my time with him did the same for me as it had done for him.
I finally got home and it was time to relax, but I noticed my house and my family were pretty cold.
With the feeling of a savior, I put on my coat and boots, ready to face the cold outside.
As the wind and the snow tore at my face, I began to gather wood for a fire.
I carefully stacked the wood and lit the timber in my fireplace.
With my feet up and my eyes closed, I began to drift into sleep, reflecting on my day and finally being able to enjoy the warmth of my own labors. That's my story.
That's my story.
That's my story.
And that's my story.
That's my story.
That's my story.